Hi, and welcome to the podcast. My name is Michael Yon, and this episode is The Reality of Human Dreams. So welcome, Kuntarkis, and is there something you'd like to say to start us off?
Yes, Michael, just a small little phrase, little explanation. Let's put it this way. For all who seek to expand their knowledge and understanding, not just the physical world of matter, but also the spiritual world of infinite spirit, the individual needs to make a conscious decision to expand their awareness through inner knowledge, which is infinite, and gain self-realization. The question that each person needs to ask themselves: why are dreams so confusing? Are they just random thoughts that have been created by the human brain? Many would say, yes, that dreams are a creation and a fabrication of the human brain. But this, Michael, is so far from the truth.
Well, so why so much confusion when it comes to dreams?
Well, Michael, so many human beings all over planet Earth have fearful experiences to some degree in their time of sleep. But in most cases, these are the creation of their own personal human lives. No matter what your beliefs or conditioning, each human being during their time of sleep releases themselves, meaning their spirit, from their human body and enters the fourth dimension vibration, known on your planet Earth as the astral world or spirit vibration. Within this astral world, spirit vibration, there are many levels of consciousness, awareness. What level of consciousness each human being enters within this vibration will depend on that individual's level of understanding and self-awareness. The whole purpose of your astral world, spirit vibration, is to help each human being come to the terms with their self-created limitations, which is why all human beings are at different levels of understanding and conscious growth.
Okay, from what you just said about each person coming out of their body once they are fully asleep, what are they experiencing? Is it real dreams or just thought fantasy?
All dreams, Michael, are actual experiences in the astral world as well as the spirit vibration. There are also many confused dream experiences of human individuals, and quite often most cannot be explained. But if you stop and ponder a while on your experiences, you would begin to self-realize that the astral world and spirit vibration are other worlds of existence, just different levels of consciousness. Your experiences are on a spirit vibration, being fourth dimensional, where physical matter, beings third dimensional, does not exist. Like so many in your physical world are unaware of the existence of spirit energies. To bring forth this awareness, the individual needs to open the doorway that is always closed to human physical sight because of human conditioning and beliefs, especially fears of the unseen.
If people are fearful of the unseen, what can be done to change that?
Oh, you're going to love this, Michael. Self-education. The word fear is an emotional creation by the individual, either in his or her current lifetime or a past incarnation. The word fear is simply the representation of an energy being manifested by the negative experience. It, in reality, has no power over you. It is the individual that uses the word fear to identify what has occurred in their life. It's like saying, if you give something power, it will become an implanted emotion, be it negative or positive. Learning to face an issue is the most effective way of dissolving the emotion.
How long has humanity been searching for answers concerning spirit?
Right throughout human history, mainly due to the 87,000 Acarons being placed here 928,000 years ago. Even though they rebelled about changing their ways of thinking with evolution, they were very spiritual beings. I think most of humanity would admit that spirit and the unseen world has been a topic of great interest throughout human history, and still is to this very moment. It will continue to be of great interest in your future, especially your moments to come. What is most important for all of humanity to understand is that without your infinite spirit, your human bodies would not exist. You each are the driver of your own experiences, as most of the knowledge from your past has been lost or destroyed by those who are afraid of individuals growing beyond their control or domination.
Oh, wow. Besides fear, what else is preventing people from searching for a deeper understanding of what their dreams are about?
Well, I think that's the $25 million question, Michael. Let's put it this way. Right throughout human history, there have always been the controllers and the followers. Kings and queens, as well as religions, control the people with fear, including keeping them in poverty. Most religions throughout human evolution kept the people ignorant by not sharing spiritual knowledge. One would have to say the human world is full of self-created fear, causing individuals to have either confusing dreams that don't make much sense, which are jumbled all over the place, or the most inspiring dreams that uplift an individual, making them feel like they are floating on air. Spirit vibration is evolving with humanity. Even though the spirit projects out of their human body and enters the spirit vibration, they still take their fears with them, creating their dream experiences that can be negative or positive. What's even more interesting is the lower levels of the astral world is also full of self-created fears, and that is a place to avoid 100%, which can be quite difficult.
Wow. So if a person has a lot of negative experiences throughout their day, would those experiences affect their dreams in their sleep?
Yes, Michael, absolutely. Lots of human beings go to bed either angry, frustrated, too much alcohol in their stomach, or just finished eating a big meal that can play a very big part in one's dream experiences while within the spirit vibration. And upon awakening, it can set the mood for their entire day. This is simply a suggestion. If you have a partner when you go to bed, make sure you and your partner do not have any form of disagreement or argue, as when you both lie down close together, you are in each other's aura energies, and you may end up being affected on many levels of negative thoughts. If you are arguing, it would be best to sleep in another bed. Your sleep will be more comforting for you.
Yeah, for you both. I've heard some people say that they never have any dreams. Can that be true?
Yes, Michael, I have heard and have had quite a few people over the years say the same thing, Michael, but that is so far from the truth. Every single human being experiences in their time of sleep the separation of their spirit into the astral world or spirit vibration. There are two main reasons why many do not remember their experiences of their dream state. First, as I stated before, some dreams have lots of confusion and are full of fearful encounters. So it is quite natural they are blocked by the human brain to prevent the individual being traumatized. The human brain is not equipped to be able to unravel those experiences. Second, there is usually too much going on in most people's brains, meaning there is too much chatter or thinking. Many human beings all over the world find it hard to go to sleep because their thoughts keep them awake. They resort to drugs or natural preparations to help them finally fall asleep. And when they awaken, their brain is active again, so they are not in a peaceful state to be able to remember their experiences. It is the negative emotions in one human's life that keeps a human being prisoner in their self-created lives. It is the same in your time of sleep. If you take your negative emotions with you into the astral world, more fears will be created, and those fears can then be brought back into the physical world when you awaken. Such experiences can and do create fear and confusion in your physical life.
How does the confusion affect their physical life?
There are hundreds of millions of human beings affected by their dream experiences on a daily basis. More than likely, over 80% have no idea why they feel the way they do on wakening up. On wakening, many are still in a negative mood or feeling depressed or stressed and feel more tired than they did the night before. It is most important when you go to lay down to sleep, you do so in a peaceful state of mind and have a calm, pleasant thoughts and feel good about yourself. Do not go to bed feeling confused or angry, and try not to watch anything too stimulating on your television, especially anything negative before bed. Even working on a computer for lengthy hours just before going to bed will interfere with your dream state. Yet we are all individuals. What I discovered in my own life is the power of thought projection through meditation. So, as you lay down in your bed, try this little exercise. In the stillness of your mind, take in a deep breath through your nose. Hold it for 4 seconds. Then exhale as much as you can slowly. Then take in 2 more breaths as the first one. When you complete that, then breathe normally. By using the power of your imagination, see a ball of white light hovering over your heart chakra center. Feel it beginning to enter your heart chakra, emanating right throughout your inner being, all the way down to your toes, then all the way up to the top of your head. Now that your inner being is saturated internally, use your imagination by allowing this white light to emanate outwardly through the pores of your skin into your aura field of living energy. Then say these words softly to yourself with heart. With this light, I cleanse my internal being, as well as my external being, of any negativity that I have created or has been sent to me from the past to the present, and dissolve it back into the nothingness, never to return. I am balanced in mind, body, spirit, and soul in every moment of every breath. This is another small affirmation you can use if you wish. I suggest that you actually record it. Record it in your own voice, the top one as well as that one, and then lay down very peacefully and try it. Try both, and just give yourself those moments of bliss, of total peace and harmony. And try this. I place the light of creation's totality around all my negative emotions and thoughts, and I dissolve them back into the nothingness from which they were first created. As I lay my body down to sleep, I fill my whole being with unconditional love, and I send this same unconditional love to my family and to all of humanity. I know unconditional love is infinite, timeless, ageless, and endless. I will take this love with me in my time of sleep, and all I experience will be for my highest good. I am love, I am light. Can you imagine if all dreams were of a positive energy, what an infinitely more peaceful world humanity would create? You would be able to travel to other universes and planets through your dream state, simply by thought consciousness, and see from new eyes that all of life is infinite, and that there are thousands upon thousands of different life forms at all different levels of consciousness in evolution, understanding, and awareness. What is known to the individual as dreams can either give you freedom or make you a prisoner from one life to the next.
Wow, that's so interesting. Hey, I've got some more questions for you. May I start with the first one?
Absolutely, Michael.
How do you know if you are dreaming if you can't remember?
The reason we can't remember is most of the time we are so tired that we go into such a deep sleep that all that we experience, which we do, and when we awaken, in a lot of situations, we awaken too quickly. And the body, the astral body, the spirit body, is flung back into the human body, which can create a memory loss. And it could be a day, a week, a month, or even a year. And suddenly you remember something and you say, I dreamt that. That's the reason why, Michael.
Yeah, for sure. You have I've had those experiences. It's kind of like deja vu. It's like, hang on. Yeah.
I will admit that if you have deep sleep and you awaken, pretty well 60 to 80% of the time, you actually feel better than having all these different experiences and awakening. In most situations, people will tell me, they have told me, but they will say, I am more tired. And that's because they have had broken sleep. And also, it's so active that the energy is being used by the spirit body or the astral body so much that it's drawing on your energy. And the energy that it's drawing on is the food that you ate at dinner time, because it takes 2 to 3 hours to digest that and turn that into energy. Now, because your human body is connected to your astral body or spirit body, it doesn't matter what distance they go. You are connected by a cord, which many refer to as the silver energy line or the silver cord, which is reality, absolute truth. Now, your body is feeding your astral body and also your spirit body. But if your spirit body or astral body doesn't have the awareness of re-energizing, it doesn't bring back the energy to re-energize your human body.
Unless it has a deep sleep, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, deep sleep it does.
A deep
naturally.
sleep it does. Yes, naturally. And also, it's the confusion too within people, because they go to bed under many, many negative experiences before they go and sleep. And that's not good. Or their life's habits.
Or stress would be a big one.
That's true.
That relates to my next question I was going to ask. I wanted to ask again about that confusion of dream experiences.
Well, exactly. As I said before, a lot of dreams, like you take a person, they come home from work, and normally, like white collar workers, normal workers, like bricklayers, builders, whatever they're doing, people who work in Woolworths, Coles, they come home. And a lot of the times they are mentally tired more so than being physically tired. When you're mentally tired, it is more of a strain on your entire body. So you walk around the house as if you're about to fall down and go to sleep. And you don't really want to listen to anybody because you're not interested because of how you're actually feeling mentally. Now, when you have dinner, a lot of people have dinner too late. So by the time they go to bed, they've actually got a belly full of food. And depending on what they've actually eaten, that food is energy on its own vibration. And it can create very confusing experiences that make absolutely no sense whatsoever. But in reality, don't ever think you're not experiencing reality, because you are. You experience, when you're physically awake, your life throughout the day, no matter what you may do. And if you look at it, it's a lot of different things. When you go to sleep, your body just wants to lay down and forget everything. But when your spirit comes out of your body, and it goes off into the spirit world or drawn down into the astral world, there is a lot of energy being used, but because of your mental, I suppose, state of mind, you're going to have confusion physically, so you're going to create confusion within that spirit world or down in the astral world. So when you come back, you're going to bring all that back with you, which will also set you into a mood when you awaken, whether it's negative or positive.
I think while we're talking about that, it might be good to mention that some people are affected by like dairy or even spicy foods and things like that.
Absolutely.
They're like a cocktail for some weird dreams.
Absolutely. Cheese. If you have a lot of cheese prior going to bed, which I have experienced myself in the past, I'm amazed by some of the silly experiences you have that don't make any sense whatsoever.
My next question is, why are some dreams in black and white and some in colour?
Well, a lot of the times, like you take down the lower end of the astral world, it can't give you a definite answer to how high before it goes into colour. But most of the experiences that a person has in the astral world are in black and white. And when I say experiences, I'm talking really low life habits of experience. And if you look at, say, certain people that live on the planet, a lot of them have really low life habits in life, like, selling drugs, having drugs, bashing people, murdering people, stealing, all the negative things of life. Some people live in a low way of thinking. Well, they take that with them. The spirit can only take what it's got. And it just wants to get out of your body to experience life, experience existence, whatever it may be. And the sad fact is, it brings it back and it creates more confusion. So that's why in the astral world, to a certain level, you always have black and white experiences. Sometimes they're like a grey, a very light grey, but a stronger grey and then a black. And it's really hard to see what's going on. And the people all seem to be black. But I can tell you at the really low ends of the astral world, it is not a place that you want to be. And that's why I believe in conscious growth. It's the only way to free you from that type of experience. So what you think through the day as a human being, you take that, whatever it may be, into the lower ends of the vibration or the higher ends of the vibration and experience different things. But as you go into spirit world, you start to dream your experiences in colour. And sometimes the colours can vary so much. You might have only 2 colours. You might have 4, 6, 8, 10. You might have the rainbow colours where everything is so bright in colour. The sun is so shining. It's incredible. It just depends on your level of understanding and your habits of life, be it negative or positive.
And there are several people that might be suffering with recurring dreams right now. Is that because of a lesson they need to face?
Absolutely, Michael. The reason dreams occur is because there are spirit guides trying to show you what you may need to look at to grow beyond it. Some people have habits of life and they will never give up those habits even to the last breath of their life. And what they don't realize is when they take their last breath and die and they go into spirit world, depending on the level of consciousness they're at, they will be there for a period of time physically, physical time, I should say, because there's no time in spirit world. And as they elevate up, they get ready to have a reincarnation. But they come back for similar lessons. So they do learn the lesson of life that was chosen by the soul.
My next question, how can I tell the real dreams from confusion?
Well, I can answer that in a pretty simple answer, to tell you the truth. From my own experiences over my, I suppose, 51 years of training myself, when you have, say, dream experiences, and there's many, and there's also confusion within them, and they seem to be of similar nature, there's a lot of confusion within that. But when you have a dream that seems to go all night, and sometimes you may dream something that seems to go for hours, and then you might wake up, you might go to the toilet, you'll come back, have a water, you'll go back to bed, and you won't dream again, and you'll just go back into a deep sleep. The dream that you actually had, that dream experience, and only being one, is a learning dream. And you've actually, in the possibility that you've learnt the lesson. So when you awaken, you will actually feel good. You may not know why, but you may also remember that dream. And you may think about it. And it might make you feel really good. It means you've gone beyond whatever that habit was of life.
Wow, that kind of answers my next question a bit. Why does one have several small dreams or only one long dream?
Yes, well, exactly what I was just saying. It all depends on the confusion in your human life. See, we go through life and have such trauma and confusion throughout our daily life because of all the problems that occur. Now, most of the time, we're not creating the problems. It could be customers, it could be business, it could be that the bricks didn't come on the right time and you can't complete the house. It could be so many different situations. But it creates the problem when you go to sleep because it's on your brain. And unfortunately, the human brain, it can't dissect what you're feeling emotionally throughout your day. The only way to overcome it then is to try and go to sleep and let yourself just relax. And as your spirit comes out, it normally can have either several small dreams to try and get you to look at what's going on in your life, or one very long dream which can explain why you are doing what you're doing in your life, and you may need to change that. It's a very hard thing to define an individual's dream. Most of the time, if a person sits in front of me and I look right into their eyes and they tell me about their dream, I can dissect it and I can pretty well give them an answer. And then they have to choose if that answer feels right for them. But deep down in that cellular consciousness, only them, only the person who had the dream, in truth, can actually work it out. And that's why we have guides, spirit guides. And a lot of the spirit guides, Michael, they actually play out certain people throughout your day, or maybe a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and you dream about a certain person, and the person that's in front of you looks like your wife or your husband, but in some situation it's not. It's actually your spirit guide trying to teach you what is going on with your life, to make you aware that maybe things aren't right, or maybe things are good. So smile a little, laugh a little, dance a little, that type of thing.
I just realized that the most interesting thing about the dream, or the last dream I had before I woke up this morning, was that I was kind of like third party, like I was an observer. I was in it, but it had nothing to do with me. Yeah, just thought I'd share that.
I would say that you were an actual observer, yes. And that you may even been connected to someone that you chosen to guide them, and you can go into the spirit world yourself and come into that vibration, that certain person, and you could observe what they're doing. And sometimes it may be a person that's very close to you, and you may, in the next day or 2 or 3, you may say, look, I had a dream and you were in it, and I just got this really strong feeling that I need to express this, but I need you to be open and not take it out on me. I'm only expressing to you what I actually dreamed in my experience.
Yeah, that's so cool. In real life, when people go to their friends and say, you were in my dream, most of the time the response is something like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all.
No, that is true. It depends on your level of understanding. It's actually showing you, Michael, if that person's there, they may not be there themselves. It may be your spirit guide. They're actually showing you something about the nature of that person also. And it could be a negative thing, or it could be a positive thing. And sometimes you hold on to that power, whichever way it may be, and just know it within yourself. But if you feel the need to share it, because you may know the person, then share it. But if they have a go at you, say, I'm so sorry. Look, all I know is that this is what I experienced and I'm just expressing it to you. I didn't mean to upset you. So just let it go. I'm so sorry. And if you do that, they normally say, okay, not a problem.
Sure. It's such an interesting topic, isn't it?
It is. It really is. People don't realize fully that their human life represents their spiritual life in spirit world, and their spirit life in spirit world represents their physical life. It's like 2 coins, and they're joined together, and one teaches the other and the other teaches back. And that's what we need to do. If we can change our thought patterns, change our attitude towards ourselves, we'll change our attitude towards others. And everything starts to come into harmony. And that's what energy is all about. It's about movement, like flux, moving on and moving on and moving on, always in a state of flux, movement.
Sure.
And that's what life is.
Yeah, of course, and change.
And change.
Yeah. My next question is, what does it mean when you see a double of yourself in your dream?
What does it mean? Okay. Now, that's a really good question, because I've had that many, many experiences, and I've asked myself the same questions over many, many years. Now, it depends where you are. You see, we live on planet Earth at this time, and planet Earth vibrates at a particular frequency, which allows us to live here and to experience life. We, as humans, also vibrate at a particular frequency. Now, you, as a person, will vibrate differently to me, and me, as a person, will vibrate differently to you. It all depends on your awareness, on your thought consciousness. It doesn't mean one is better than the other. What it does mean, we become teachers for others. And it doesn't matter what level we're on. We can become teachers and students. It all works back and forth. But when we actually dream about another, especially if they're a double, it also could mean multidimensional worlds, because there are many, many multidimensional worlds vibrating all at slightly different frequencies.
Another way of saying that is alternate realities.
Alternate realities. And as they vibrate, we cannot see them. Not with our physical sight, because our physical sight can only see the vibration that we are emitting. Now, the thing is, all those other worlds also vibrate at different frequencies, and they can't see us. But when we go to sleep and we spirit out of our bodies by projection through thought consciousness, we can literally end up on another world, a multidimensional world. And we can run into a double, and I've done it. And that double may be doing, say, better than you in life. Or it may be doing more horribly than what you are doing with life. So one can help the other. You can learn from your double. And that's the most important thing. And you can bring back that knowledge if you train yourself to understand why. But in most cases, when you dream about yourself as a double, it's because you are in an alternate reality. And they exist, Michael, and there are dozens of alternate realities, all vibrating at different frequencies. All are in different times of evolution. Some may be 50 years, 100 years ahead of us, where they've got all this new technology. And we can actually go there, depending on who we are in our thought consciousness, and we can observe and actually bring it back. Or we can go there to actually help our double or even their society. I've done that many times, and I'm quite amazed by it. I allow things to happen naturally. I don't force it, and I don't fight it. And the reason most of us don't have these immaculate experiences is because we fear it. And when we learn to let go of our fear, we open up a new doorway to a reality that is absolutely amazing. And again, on the other hand, we can go to an alternate reality that could be 100 years back in time, or 1,000, or 100,000. And we can see, these people who were 100,000 years ago. And we're there for a specific reason, because our energies have actually wanted us to go there. And I will share this extra little part. When you meet a double on all these worlds that are beyond ours, they are part of your facet. They are a part of your soul. And that's something that most people don't actually relate to. Now, the soul, it can be this most infinite energy of intelligence, of abilities, of unconditional love, of anything you want it to be, because it's so unbiased. And it can send out all these facets of energy, even to multidimensional worlds that are right alongside of our Earth, just vibrating slightly different. And I use this same terminology. A radio show. You listen to a particular radio show, doesn't matter what it is, 105, and it might be 73,000 hertz per second or something or other. Where another radio show may be 107, and it may be 46,000. Well, if you turn the dial to the one I said first, you're going to get that radio station. But you won't get the one I said after it, the 105, because it's a different frequency. And that's the same with multidimensional worlds, alternate realities. We all vibrate at a different frequency. And this is something we really need to dig deep in our understanding and bring that reality to the forefront. And that's how we grow in thought consciousness, by opening ourselves up and letting go of our ignorance, of our egos.
Wow. Back to when you enter the dream state, who or what actually creates the stage for that dream?
You.
So like you as in your soul, your spirit, your brain, your chemistry?
Yeah, okay, chemistry plays a big part. What you experience through the day, your spirit also experiences. And it can't wait to get out to experience its own existence because it's like that.
Mm.
And when it enters the spirit world, it literally does, if you train it, and this is a secret, that's what I've been doing for 51 years of my so-called human life. I've been training myself and I've never stopped. I've never stopped believing and I've never stopped training. I train my mind every moment of every breath. And I can be sitting, or I can be exercising, or I can be gardening or building, or even talking to people. And I look at people and I just project this energy of infinite love. And by doing that, I open up doorways that tells me more about that person and I can relate a lot better. So when the spirit goes into spirit world, it takes what it's experienced and it tries to format it to make some sense of it. So when it comes back, it gives you the answer of your own confusion. And it works, I tell you. It really does.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and you had touched on that a little earlier, I believe. Yeah, so why do some people have flying experiences and others don't?
I'll tell you something, Michael, now. Every single human being in this lifetime, forget about what happened in the past or what's going to happen in the future. Let's just be in this moment. Every human being that breathes air, that has life, when they lay down to go to sleep, somewhere in their lifetime, they will experience flying experiences. And what it is, it's the spirit. When it comes out, all it wants to do is fly, to feel nothingness, to not experience the confusion of what's going on in its human body. And it flies over water, it flies over mountains, it flies over cities. It does all sorts of things. It teaches people. I've been teaching people in the spirit world that the reality that they believe they are in is not reality. It's literally fantasy because they're preventing themselves from moving on from what they understand. And now this is one example I had not that long ago. I remember it was like a school, a massive brick building from all different levels. Like it must have been built on slightly hilly ground where all the buildings were at different heights. And these bricks were very dark and had a dark roof type thing, like a brownish type roof, maybe tiles.
This is in the spirit world?
This is the spirit world. And I remember there were all these people around. There was it looked like there was hundreds and hundreds of people. And some massive, like a fete, is that what they called it?
Yep.
Fete?
Yep.
Yeah, fete was going on. And I was walking amongst these people and I was starting to feel a little uncomfortable because there was a lot of negativity around. I could sense it very strongly. And as I was walking, where the field is, it wasn't far from where the buildings were and all the people were having their fete. And it had this massive fence. It was about 4 feet high, and it was a chainy wire type fence with metal posts and this round metal rail all the way along. And down, it was like, I don't know if you've ever seen Mount Tamborine, but it's like a sudden drop into a lower valley. It could be like, say, 500 feet or 300 feet to a drop. And on the other side of it, you could walk all the way around, and there was another section where it was flat, and they had a massive oval. And I could see in the distance that there was people or students all playing games, like kicking things, throwing things. And I looked around and I said, I think it's time to amaze people, because these people are either physical or they're in spirit and they don't realize that they've passed over. So I literally flew up. I lifted myself off the ground and I went over the fence and I was up about, say, maybe 1.5, 2 meters. And suddenly I heard this lady yell out, "Oh my God, will you look at that? That man is standing on air. He's floating." And everyone, I mean everyone, just turned and looked at me. And I said, "Hello." That's all I said. "Hello." And they looked at me, and some people put their hand up like to wave, and I waved back. And this man that was close to the fence said, "How in jolly hell are you doing that? That's just not possible." And I said, if you realized the state that you're in, you would understand why you just made that statement. If you believe things are not possible, that is what your soul will create for you. You are all dead. You have all gathered here, and you are all different from different vibrations of when you passed over. I said, I am a physical person, and I've created a physical body within this world that is called spirit world. And he looked at me. He said, "What are you, a joker?" And I walked up to him and I said, "You touch my hand." And he did. And it felt physical. I pulled my hand away and I said, "Now touch my hand." And his hand went straight through mine. And he said, "Oh my God." He said, that can't be possible. I can't be dead." I said, "You all are." I said, "You have been living here trying to discover why you are living here. Yes, you are all enjoying yourself, but you're also halting your conscious growth." And he looked at me and he said, well, who are you? I mean, how come you're physical and you're floating?" I said, "Because I'm magical and I believe in magic. That's why I'm here. I didn't know when I first came why, but now I do." So that's an experience. And there are people that have that. And there are people who fly in nice experiences and other people who fly in negative experiences. And there are people who may be flying and feeling really good about themselves when suddenly it's like someone grabbed their leg and suddenly dragged them all the way down to the vibration that they're in. And they're meant to learn. They're meant to learn a certain lesson where they are. So the energy brought them back down to stop them from flying because it distracted them. And yet there are times when you can fly right throughout your experiences and wake up and you can feel so good. Because it's like saying, I let go of all the rubbish, the suitcases off my shoulders. That's what they're saying. But there are a lot of people, Michael, all over the world. In fact, probably every single person throughout some part of their life that they have had flying experiences.
Because as you said, it's a natural occurrence as the spirit flies out of the body and then floats back into the body in the morning. Yeah.
Absolutely. I come out of my body all the time and I'm getting better and better and better at it. I can't control certain things. I'm not trying to, but I'm learning from them and I notice I'm getting better and better. I mean, when I first started, 50 years ago, I used to still always believe in magic. I don't know why, but I did. And when I'm out in spirit world, I would try to do some and nothing worked. And then when I'm in my physical body, I have a recognition and I try to do magic and nothing worked. So I gave up the trying when it comes to wanting so badly for something to happen. And I allowed everything to be natural. And I noticed my progression was increasing. And now I can just go into spirit world and I can fly whenever I want to. And I teach others. And I have taught, I'm talking thousands since I've been here to fly. I've actually, can I tell you this
Sure.
one? I've got to tell you this one. This happened about 19 months ago. This most beautiful elderly couple. I mean, I'm talking two ladies. When I say couples, I shouldn't say that. They were two sisters and they never got married. And they lived together after their parents died. They never wanted to get into a relationship and they just loved each other's company. So you can tell that they've had experiences many times over.
You mean in past lives?
In past lives. And I came across them and they were sitting, and I might have told you part of this or maybe not, but I've had cups of tea many times with different people. And I came across, and I was flying past, and I came across this beautiful little house. It was a red house, and it was a funny red, like a acrylic. It wasn't shiny, like it needs painting. And as I was flying past, I noticed them. They didn't notice me. They were so caught up in their chatting. And I landed outside their gate, and their gate was red. And I looked over at them, and suddenly one noticed me, and they said, "Yes, can I help you?" And I said, I was just wondering, I would love to share a cup of tea with you. And the other one looked at me and said, "What a cheeky brat you are." And I said, "Forgive me, I'm sorry." She said, "Oh, come in." She said, "Come in, come through the gate." So I opened the gate and I came through. I walked up and she looked at me. She got up and she gave me an embracement. I said, "Oh, okay, this sounds good." And she said, "Sit down, young man." And I sat down and she poured me a tea. And it was just a black tea, no milk, just black. And I started drinking it and I could see the steam coming off it. I could feel the warmth on my lips. So their reality, because I was tuned into their reality was so powerful in spirit world after all the years they've been there that they created the whole scene as if it's actually real, as real could be. And in truth, their thought consciousness created magic. Now, we don't see it as that, but it is. It's actual magic, just like Mystical Man does when he creates food and coffee, the steam and everything that I describe. That is magic. And these people, these two lovely older ladies, were creating magic. And I said to them as we were talking, I said, "Have you ever thought about flying?" And this other one looked at me and sort of gave me that scrunchy face look. And she said, "People can't fly. Don't be silly." And I said, "They can." She said, "No, they can't." She said, "They can't fly because they're physical. Their bodies will not come off the ground." And I said, "That's because you believe it." "Oh, right." She said, "Can you fly?" And I said, "Yes." Well, she said, "Show me now." So I got up and I just walked over onto the actual little pathway that was all broken brick. And I said, "Are you ready?" And she said, "Yes." And they started laughing. How silly I am. And I literally lifted off the ground and I started moving back and forth, left and right, left and right. And then I started walking on the air. And they both smacked their face with their hands. And I said, "Will you look at that? That. He's doing it. That's supposed to be impossible." I remember my father telling me when I had a dream about flying that we can't fly. And I've never flown since. And I said, "How would you like to fly?" "I can't fly." The other one says, "I'd like to try." So they got up and they wobbled over because they were in their 80s, maybe 85, 86. And they wobbled sort of over to me. And I said, "Can I have your hands?" And I took one left and one right. And I said, "You ready?" They said, "Yes." As if to say, it's never going to happen. And I just raised my hands And they came up and they shook their bodies. They were shaking. And they said, I'm flying. And I said, yes. Would you like to fly a little higher? And they said, yes. So I went up about 100 feet and they could see the roof of their house and their yard. And they were giggling like little children. And then I took them down and I looked at them and I said, I have a secret to tell you. And they said to me, what's that? I said, you're going to be disappointed or you're going to be very, very happy. I said, there's someone waiting for you. They said, who's waiting for us? I said, your mama and your dada. And they both cried. They said, that can't be possible. We're alive. They can't be waiting yet. I said, you're not alive. I said, you passed over many years ago. And that's where you've been sitting. Can't you remember? You never go inside. You hardly ever leave your chair. And your pot of tea and your cups are always filled. And they thought about it by looking at each other for several moments. And they suddenly realized that I was right. They couldn't remember getting up, even going to the toilet after all those cups of tea. Yeah. And I said, do you want to see your mama and dada? And they say, yes. And the other one started really crying. And she pulled my hand up to her face with her hand. And I could feel the tears coming out of her eyes. It was so beautiful. I wanted to cry, but I don't cry. And I said, look, turn behind you. And as they turned around, still holding my hand, they saw this beautiful beam of light. And the light was like gold. And it wasn't a circle. It was just light that was sort of moving out in all directions. And then suddenly these two people came through. They were old. And they said, come with us. And the two let go of my hand. And they turned as they walked away and they said, thank you. And I said, you're welcome. And as they walked up to their mother and dad, they got embraced. And once they were embraced, they became young. Two little girls. And even the parents became young. And they turned holding hands and walked into that light. That's how things happen, Michael. We have to learn the lessons of life before we can go beyond and through the light. Don't ever believe what anyone says, that when you pass over, you go through the light. Because that's why you dream. To learn, to bring back, so you change your thinking in your human life, whether it's negative or positive.
Beautiful.
I just thought I'd share that.
Yeah, thank you. And so people know that kind of, you have helped thousands and thousands of people in a similar way to shift beyond their being in the spirit world into going beyond that and being able to incarnate again, right?
That's true, and I think that's priceless. That's a priceless thing to do. I can tell you that now.
Wow. My next question, which one should I ask you? I want to ask you, well, we'll get to a beautiful one after I first ask you this one, because I've got it in line. Is there a lot of violence in the lower end of the astral world?
Yes. The lower ends of the astral world is where all the sludge is, the sick. And do you know how you see sometimes on some of the movies, I think it was portrayed in The Mummy. You remember the movie The Mummies? The Mummy?
Yeah.
There was a movie, and it was one part where this guy who was a spirit, he gets pulled back into this sludge, this black sludge, and all these arms come up and faces, to pull him back down.
Mm.
In the lower ends of the astral world, some of that actually exists. And when I say it exists, it's not a very pretty place to be, I can tell you now, because of the way humanity has created the most violent wars right throughout history. And the sludge of all their bodies rotting, skeletons, actually represent the energy of what humanity is when it comes to non-love for life. Life is the most precious gift that living energy expresses. Even though living energy understands that life must experience the negatives as well as the positives, there comes a moment in time when you have to let go of the violence. You have to stand up and say, no more will I kill for anyone. Because that is simply the ego playing a game of domination. And domination holds a very big power over people, especially when it comes to fears, especially if their lives are becoming insecure or threatened. That's why all the violence of the past of 928,000 years of human evolution ends up in places like that until there is a thought consciousness of light that allows them to leave. People who rape, serial rapists, serial murderers, people who blow up people and knowing that they do it, people who kill animals for fun, really negative people that cause so much, people who use people that end up dead. They all end up in those lower parts of the astral world because that's where their level of understanding exists. And until they're ready to let go and move up and then reincarnate, they will stay there. And that's the sad part. So that is a vibration that you do not want to be in. So the point is, grow in thought consciousness to become self-aware that there is more to life than just the human ego.
Wow. Yeah. So in a dream state, can you actually create all of your experiences?
Absolutely, Michael. One of the things to actually do to begin this process is become self-aware. That is what you want to do. Now, most people would never lay down and think to themselves, I'm going to create all my experiences when I go into my dream state. But you can do it. And there's a very simple technique. All you have to do is when you lay down to go to sleep, first, make sure that you're in a quiet room. Make sure that there's not a lot of external noise that's going to irritate you. Make sure that you said goodnight to people so no one actually bursts into your room and totally breaks that energy flow. So when you lay down to sleep, first of all, take a few deep breaths so you can relax and feel balanced. So breathe in, then breathe out. So it gives you relaxation. And just say to yourself, I now lay down to sleep. But before I sleep, I want to say these words. I want to teach myself that when I go into my dream state, knowing my spirit will go into spirit world, I want to experience certain things. Maybe I want to experience how to fly. So I will see myself coming out of my body, stepping outside, looking up into the heavens, the sky, and I will lift myself off the ground, and I will allow my understanding to flow wherever I choose to go through my thought power. Now that's a simple way of doing it, but you have to do that basically every night. It's like you've lived for, say, 15 years, maybe 25 years, maybe 40 years, maybe 50, 60, 70, and you've never done it. So you've been conditioned not to know these things. And suddenly somebody may say to you, do you have flying experiences? And you may say, no, never. So that might spark off something within you. So you decide, how am I going to do this? And you lay down and you say just what I said in any words, doesn't matter what they are. But if you tell yourself before you go into sleep what you wish to experience, it doesn't matter what it is, eventually you will do it. Because what you're doing is speaking to your thought consciousness, which is pure energy and living energy. And eventually you will experience what you have wanted to.
It's kind of because it gets imprinted on the spirit.
Absolutely. Your spirit is listening all the time. And in a lot of situations, your spirit is very upset with you.
Really?
Yes, because it's locked inside your body in its vibration and it can't leave because of the conditioning of your mindset as a human being. So it's there until you lay down. And it's got to wait until you go to sleep deeply, and then it will try to come out. And it will. And it'll go off and do whatever it has to. But if you don't teach your physical self what to do, in a lot of situations, it will have the same habits and limitations placed upon it because of your limitations and your habits of life. The more you purify your level of understanding and thinking, and also your habits of life, the more you will be able to witness and experience when you're in spirit world. And you'll be able to create circumstances just by your thoughts before you take off into sleep time. So it's up to you as an individual. But I'll promise you this, it's worth it. Because what I can do in spirit world, I believe is beyond imagination. And I mean beyond imagination. It's like I've learned to actually do magic. And when I say magic, I mean I can be in the earthly vibration. And I do this quite often. And I create a body. Now I used to muck around with it, just play around with it. One time, I became so aware of what I was doing that I felt the heat off the body of a person standing near me. I remember being in a crowd and I moved amongst the crowd and suddenly I realized that I touched a person's shoulder with mine. And the person said to me, "Oh, sorry." And I looked at him and I said to myself, wow, he sees me. Wow. I felt the hit when I hit his shoulder and he felt mine. And I started to take recognition of what was happening. And I realized that I wasn't in spirit world because I was training myself to stay in the third dimensional vibration when I came out of my body. But the problem at the moment still is I can't fully control it. But I'm getting there.
So you can't control it, like you have to go with the flow wherever it takes you?
I have to go with the flow wherever it takes me.
Okay.
And a lot of the times when I come out, I suddenly have this so powerful feeling to go in a certain direction. And I move at the speed of light sometimes, or I just fly, and maybe it's not so far away. So any human can do what I do, not because I'm in a Chiron from another world. Has nothing to do with that. Any human can do it.
And to quote something you said to me years ago, learning to control your sleep times, your spirit travel, your dreams, you said something along the lines of, it is the greatest way to evolve consciously.
Absolutely. Yes, that's very, very true. When you learn to not control your human life, right? But what you're doing is you're controlling your thought power, your thought consciousness. And by doing that, you start to project a positive energy into what you're trying to achieve.
So, Kuntarkis, is the dream state simply for higher learning?
Absolutely. And that's the most simplest answer you can give it. Everything in reality, whether it's physical or spiritual, is for higher learning. You know the old tree where it says the tree of life, and the tree of life is tall, right? It's got many roots down the bottom, but there's many branches. And as we're going up, we have a tendency to go out on all the branches. Well, that's higher learning. Some of us can progress directly straight up because we already possess from previous existences that knowledge. But it doesn't mean that you're lower. It means that you're progressing, and that's beautiful.
Sure. If the dream state is simply for learning, how far can one progress?
Infinite.
Yeah, there is no end, is there?
There is no end, Michael. It's like the universe. You know, I've sat out. This is a true experience, and I don't know really how to fully explain this. I'm going to ask my father when I see him, and my father, it's Yakis Kardis, and I'm going to ask him a question. I said, I had an experience probably about maybe 4 months ago, 5 months ago, and I saw myself flying through what seemed like bubbles of energy. And the bubbles of energy were massive. I'm talking like something like Earth with its universe around it. And as I was flying through, I could feel the progression of going through that and having higher levels of understanding. It was quite amazing. And I got out. It's like I stepped out of the entire structure of the universe. And I looked back at it. And what I could see was multi-billions of universes. That's the only way that I personally can explain it. But I know my father will explain it no problems. But that's what it felt like. And then suddenly, within moments, I was drawn back. I could feel myself being pulled back at lightning speed. And I remember hitting my body, and I literally jumped. It's like I levitated a certain height out of the bed. But that's what the feeling was. And maybe I wasn't meant to do that. But that's what I experienced. So yes, everything in dream state is simply for learning. And if we decide to progress beyond our understanding, we not only raise our thought consciousness, we actually learn to touch the essence of our own soul.
Wow. And we're of benefit to those around us.
Absolutely. I mean, Michael, can you imagine me, seriously, can you imagine me just being here on Earth through every single incarnation and, say, not being in a Chiron? I couldn't talk the way I talk. I couldn't express the knowledge that I express. And the knowledge is infinite. And knowledge is infinite in everyone. And it's within your cellular structure. It's like if you picked out one cell and you said to that cell, I want you to open up and reveal what's within it. And I've said this before, actually, but not in this term. And the cell opens up, and there's another cell. And what you're doing is opening up each cell, and you have the knowledge on the outer, the inner, the inner, the inner, and the inner. And you keep going and going and going and going, because knowledge is infinite. And we are infinite. But we have to change our level of understanding and grow beyond the human ego. Because I will say this, the human ego controls humanity individually.
Yeah. Yep, you've shared a good amount on that, and for good reason in our previous episodes. So speaking of understanding, you hinted on this earlier, but I have a question about how can one divine one's own dream experiences to make some kind of sense out of them?
To flow with life, Michael. To not defy what is being given to you. A lot of people have these most unbelievable experiences in their dream state, and they come back and wake up and they pass it off within a day or two as simply a dream. Mm. The reason is because of their thought consciousness is not being allowed to develop in its own way because of human ego running the show. And it holds us back. Human ego, it's like it keeps us like retarded from progressing forward. And it's like if you say that to a person, they immediately get offended. And it's not said to offend. It's said, this is what will be if you don't take these steps to grow beyond who you are. So you can have a better life, a better understanding. And when you have children who have chosen to come through you for particular lessons, then give them the best start genetically when you pass on your genes to them. So they're not caught in the same trap that you grew up with because of your parents and their parents and their parents. It's not to say that they are lower. All it means, we all need to progress from one generation to the next when it comes to thought consciousness.
I want to stop you there. I just want to ask, with the question about making sense of the dreams, is it also, because you said go with the flow, is it also that, is it okay if we don't make complete sense of our dream experiences?
Absolutely. But think about them. Think about your experiences. A lot of the times, I'll actually think about an experience many, many times over a year or two. It'll suddenly come back to me. And I'll say, yeah, that was really interesting. And what's really amazing, Michael, when I have those thoughts, within a day or two, I have another experience similar, but actually better. And I'm finding now that when I come out of my body, I create this massive amount of magic, especially when it comes to using energy. And I create the energy into balls, spheres of different colors. And I pass them around to people and they are amazed by what they're sensing. And this is normally within the spirit world. And what's that? What I'm doing is getting them to understand that everything in existence is energy. And what you're holding is energy that comes from living energy that has created everything. So we can not just create our experiences, be it negative or positive, we can learn to control them. in a positive way. So when we come back, we can use that energy for positivity, not negatively. And that's all I wish to say.
Wow, this has been an amazing episode. Thank you so much for all you shared, Kuntarkis.
You are so welcome, Michael.
What a lovely position I have to be able to do this with you. I'm pretty grateful.
So am I, Michael.
Yeah?
Because you're helping me as much as I am helping you.
Oh, excellent.
And you are also helping all those that choose to listen to what we are creating.
Yeah, I like that. It has meaning for me. Yeah, I feel that. Well, this concludes the reality of human dreams. If you are interested in finding out more about Kuntarkis himself, go to his website, etcconsciousness.com. If you're interested in having some time with him, or if you have any questions about the podcast and such, simply email kuntarkis@gmail.com. That's it for now. Thanks so much for listening. My name is Michael Yon, and stay tuned for more.